Chancellor, may I, Professor Graham Shipley, as public orator, present Ivan Browne, a candidate for an honorary degree. Many of the men and women we honour at these ceremonies have devoted their life to the service of communities in Leicestershire and Rutland. Few, however, can have sprung from families whose record of service to the city of Leicester itself is as rich as that of the honourand who stands before you. Ivan was born in Adderley Road in Clarendon Park, just across Victoria Park from here, to parents who were part of that great generation from the Caribbean that has enriched British life since the Second World War. His mother, a senior nurse, helped set up the coronary unit at Leicester Royal Infirmary when the Windsor building was created. His aunt became a principal tutor on the nursing course, and his wife, Dr. Linda Browne, who graduated here, will be known to everyone who has experienced the excellent care offered by the Victoria Park Health Centre. Many of our honorands tell us that education made a huge difference to their lives, but it is often the later years of education that they enjoyed the most. Ivan went to school in Oadby at a time, the 1970s, when being one of the very few non-white pupils made life difficult, to say the least. He does, however, pay tribute to one science teacher whose perceptive handling of a troubled teenager set Ivan on a new path, as he may perhaps tell us in a moment. Ivan enjoyed better his apprenticeship as a mechanic, when coincidentally the only other black student was Simon Woolley from the St. Matthew's estate in the city, now Lord Woolley, to whom we gave an honorary doctorate last year. It was at this point that Ivan found that the mix of practical training and academic tuition fired him with enthusiasm, and he discovered that academic study, when it satisfies one's own deeply held aspirations and the focuses of one's interest, can be the greatest accelerator of personal achievement. He realized that he wanted to serve his community's health, as others in his family were doing. He began to gather a range of higher education qualifications, a BSc in Environmental Health at Leeds, a Master's in Public Health at Nottingham, and 5 years further training in Public Health in the West Midlands Deanery, now part of Health Education England, whose mission is to improve the health of the population rather than focusing on individuals only. Having worked initially to reduce the risks from chemical and environmental hazards in Birmingham, in his 40s, Ivan was appointed a public health consultant to NHS Leicester City. 11 years later, he was promoted to Director of Public Health with Leicester City Council, just in time for a once-in-a-century public health crisis. Rising to the challenge of the pandemic, he became a key strategist for the city and a voice for the people of Leicester in addressing central government. Despite receiving only partial data from Whitehall, he and his team were the first to identify the spike in COVID cases in summer 2020, which led to Leicester being singled out for a second lockdown, and which unjustly made it the target of politically motivated misrepresentations of this largely harmonious multi-ethnic city. This was a political battle in which Ivan fought daily in the front line. Since then, he has been particularly supportive of this university's initiative to develop a civic universities partnership between Leicester, de Montfort and Loughborough. Our county of Leicestershire uniquely possesses 3 leading universities whose strengths in healthcare are different but complementary. They can only benefit from the synergies now being created. Within this ongoing project, Ivan contributes on community health and well-being, being passionately dedicated to tackling health inequalities in this diverse but often socially disadvantaged city. The desire to maximise the general health of the community, not only medical training and research, has always been at the heart of this university's medical school, whose founding professors played a vital role in integrating the different hospitals into a coordinated unit. For the City Council, Ivan also leads on Leicester's response to the cost of living crisis, again partnering with this university. He holds a professorship of public health at de Montfort University. For his achievements in the improvement of community health and for his inspiring leadership, he has received the Chief Medical Officer's Award from the Association of Directors of Public Health. He has also received the President's Medal of the Faculty of Public Health, the Professional Association of Public Health Professionals, for services to public health. Recently, he has been awarded honorary doctorates from De Montfort and Loughborough, and we are pleased to be able to follow suit. 2 years ago, he was invited to be a Deputy Lieutenant for Leicestershire, one of the group of local men and women who support the Lord Lieutenant of the county in representing the Queen or King of the day at public events. We tend to think of England as a mobile society. People move in from all over the world, while others go out from here to all places. Within the country, many move between different regions. Some are pleased to return home later. Ivan Browne, who worked in the West Midlands but returned to work in his home city in his 40s, is fiercely proud of his roots in Leicester and passionate in his belief in the potential of this hard-working city to achieve great things. His tireless work and leadership, made radiant by his natural enthusiasm and good humour, show us the importance of taking time to find your true calling. Long ago, Ivan's father, a carpenter, was working as one of the team constructing our engineering building, which is widely regarded as an architectural masterpiece. During the colder months of the project, he was kept going by the thought that his son might one day graduate from the University of Leicester. Today, we are pleased to make that dream come true for one of Leicester's greatest sons. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Council and of the Senate, I present Professor Ivan Browne that you may confer upon him the degree of Doctor of Science.
Thank you. Chancellor, graduates, honoured and distinguished guests, I want to thank you for the privilege and the honour that I have of being here with you this morning. But what I want to say is, when you face pinch-me moments like this one that is happening to me right now, you can't help but wonder, how on earth did I get to this place? And as I was thinking about that over the weeks before I came here, I kept coming back to two words. And those two words were hope and opportunity. Well, to be more precise, the exact point at which hope meets opportunity and lives can be changed. And I think it's particularly fitting that I'm having this conversation and I'm having this reflection with you in this particular university. You see, because this is a place that only exists because of those two elements. Many years ago, Dr. Ashley Clark and patrons such as Thomas Fielding Johnson and many of our local citizens of this great and incredible city came together and established this university in 1921, and it was meant to be a living memorial for our young people lost during the First World War. So there we see there was a collective hope for a better future for our young people, for the generation that was yet to come, and they created the opportunity by creating this incredible university. And so it's fitting that the motto of the university is "so they may have life." To me, it's really clear that those founders understood what I have come to understand, that when hope meets opportunity, lives can be extraordinarily changed. So fast forward a few years later, fast forward to another war. And the call goes out to the colonies to rebuild this country following the Second World War. And people like my parents and many of the other Windrushers answered that call. My parents coming from Antigua to help, but they came with a hope to build a better life. They came with a determination to create opportunities for their children. You heard in that humbling citation the role my father played in the construction of this university. He was a very proud carpenter. And he never really used to speak to me about his job, but the one place that he used to talk about was him fitting out, they called it second fixing, fitting out the Sterling Building's laboratories. And his finishing work was so good that he was left to do all of those beautiful teak laboratory cabinets. They've probably been ripped out by now. But it was the one thing that he always used to tell me about. And I think I now truly understand why. My dad considered this university to be his university. I don't think it was a coincidence that the first house that he purchased was in the shadow of this university on Adderley Road, as we have said. That would have become an incredible financial sacrifice where people were moving to cheaper parts of the city. He put together the extra money to buy a house in the shadow of the university. And I think the reason why he did that is he wanted his son and he wanted his daughter to see, at times, almost unattainable opportunity to go forward. He saw it as a beacon of opportunity for his son and daughter. And I think he wanted us every day as we walked to see a place, a tangible place, where hope and opportunity meet. But as was said, I didn't take the initial hint. He was obviously far too subtle. And it was only when my life started to change with my secondary school teacher, bumping along through school, but Mr. Horsfield, my science teacher, which was one of my worst subjects, but Mr. Horsfield observed a boy that seemed not to quite fit in, who, whilst pleasant enough, wasn't really going anywhere academically. And without, as far as I was concerned, any meaningful evidence to the contrary, as far as I could see, this young teacher went out of his way to demonstrate a hope and a belief in me. He created opportunities for us both to discover what I could do and if I could be better. My favorite example is one day I'd handed in my awful homework to him. And he said at the end of the day, Ivan, I want to keep you, can you have a word with me after school? Well, I was so panicked about that whole thing, because if anybody knows my father, things like detentions do not go down well with him. And he kept me back and he said to me, I want you to do this homework over again so that I can see how well you can actually do. I was so relieved not to have to report anything back to my father. I rushed to this place called a library, and I opened these things called books, and I wrote this piece of homework, handed it into Mr. Horsfield, and I got this wonderful thing that I'd never seen before called a B. The smart thing about Mr. Horsfield was that it meant that never again could I hand in a terrible piece of homework to him. He saw something in me. He had hope in me, and he created the opportunity for me to show it. I think it's at that point that maybe a journey of becoming a scientist followed me. And it was because of these and many other lessons along the way that when we were hit by a global pandemic, and particularly when Leicester was placed into the longest and earliest local lockdown, it became very clear to me that what the city required was not just my expertise or my technical expertise, but we needed in this city a sense of hope and to create amongst our communities opportunities for change. And it's no surprise that many of the things that were later rolled out, local community testing, local contact tracing, were all developed here within Leicester and then used in other parts of the country. Great things can change when hope meets opportunity, and it is one of the greatest honours of my life to serve my home city at a time like this. But I can't sit down before addressing the stars of the show today, our graduates. I'm sharing these reflections with you predominantly because this is a day where hope and opportunity have collided for every single one of you. It's easy to forget that not everyone gets the opportunity to sit where you are sitting right now. And I want you to take this moment in, and I want you to embrace it. Because in the years, the weeks, the months to come, you may feel there are times when hope and opportunity are not synchronizing as well as you hoped they might. But I want you to take heart from today. I want you to remember that it remains possible and indeed probable that your goals will be achieved in life. And to those of you that are fortunate enough to have a more easy path and for life to run more smoothly, I charge you to never forget that you have an individual responsibility to generate spaces of hope and opportunity for others throughout your life. As a graduate of Leicester University, it is more incumbent upon you than perhaps if you've been to any other university to provide hope and opportunity. You are required to respect the legacy of how this university was established and who it was established for. As for me, this university has always been part of my life. I was born in its shadows, I played in its fields, I rode and walked out to work, to church, to friends' homes, and I still walk past it every single day. And I've even had the opportunity to speak and lecture in this university. So for me personally, it means the world to me today that the boy from the bottom of the street is now part of this university's life and part of this university's history. And I want to thank you for this incredible honor.